Good morning. Welcome to another week of Doc's Coffee Talk here from Calvary Baptist Church in Wolf City, Texas. Last week I told you we would jump in here in this Old Testament prophecy book, the minor prophet of Obadiah. This morning we're going to read this together, all 21 verses of it. Once again, it's written in poetic form, and it's Old Testament and just a beautiful passage, but it has some things we need to try to understand. As I read, I'm going to emphasize the footnotes, and then also the headings as we go along. I think that will help. And then I'm going to come back and just close with some history that's written in this Bible that I've got here that I'm using. And this week we're using it's in the Holman Standard Version Bible. But this Bible is the Apologetic Study Bible. It has a bunch of information in it, and that's what I'm going to come back and read the history from that I think is very helpful for us. Once again, we're talking about standing with Israel, and you'll see as we go along, I hope, what we're talking about. Okay, so beginning Obadiah. I was going to say Obadiah 1, but it's the only book, so it's just Obadiah, beginning in verse 1. Actually, before that, it says the vision of Obadiah. We talked about that last week. And the heading right at the start is Edom's certain judgment. Edom's certain judgment. That means that it's going to happen. God said it will happen, and it's certain. So you can count on it, but maybe not something they want to count on. But this is what the Lord God has said about Edom. We have heard a message from the Lord. An envoy has been sent among the nations. Rise up and let us go to war against her, against Edom. Okay, that's the first little footnote. Look, I will make you insignificant among the nations, talking about Edom. You will be deeply despised. Your presumptuous heart has deceived you, you who live in the clefts of the rock. It's another footnote there about the clefts of the rock. It could be in Selah, or it could many people believe that it's Petra. You can look up Petra, you understand. But you who live in the clefts of the rock, or you who live in Petra, in your homes on the heights, who say to yourself, who can bring me down to the ground? Though you seem to soar like an eagle. Other interpretations may say, though you seem to build high like the eagle, build on the heights like an eagle, which is what they did, and make your nest among the stars. Even from there, I will bring you down. This is the Lord's declaration. So this is what's going to happen. These are the words of God. If these came to you, if marauders by night, how ravaged you will be. Wouldn't they steal only what they wanted? If grape pickers came to you, wouldn't they leave some grapes? How Esau will be pillaged, his hidden treasure searched out. Okay, he's talking about if thieves came. Thieves come really quick, right? They just break in. They try to grab stuff quickly. They maybe look just for a moment for the most expensive things, the treasures, and then they get out. And it's talking about grape pickers. If grape pickers, when they come, they're going to miss some grapes. They're not going to go over the vines and over the vines time and time again and clean the grapes completely out. But it says, verse 6, how Esau will be pillaged, his hidden treasures searched out. It means that they're going to take time. God's going to take the time to completely wipe them out. Everyone who has a treaty with you will drive you to the border. Everyone at peace with you will deceive and conquer you. Those who eat your bread will set a trap for you. Literally, in some manuscripts read, those who eat your bread, they will set your bread as a trap. Okay, so they're setting a trap for you at dinner time. When you sit down and think you're going to relax and eat your dinner, this is when it's going to happen. But he will be unaware of it. Verse 8, in that day, the Lord's declaration, will I not eliminate the wise ones of Edom and those who understand from the hill country of Esau? Teman, verse 9, Teman, this region in Edom, Teman, your warriors will be terrified, so that everyone from the hill country of Esau will be destroyed by slaughter. Now we move into a second heading here before verse 10. It says, Edom's sin against Judah, because you're probably asking, well, what did they do? This is Edom's certain judgment. God's going to completely wipe them out. He's going to just drive them to the border, and there's not going to be anything left. All of their treasure, everything's going to be gone, and their vines will be completely picked clean, probably destroyed. We know that they'll be burned and things. So what did they do? What did they do? Well, I'm glad you asked. Verse 10, you will be covered with shame and destroyed forever because of violence done to your brother Jacob. On the day you stood aloof, on the day strangers captured his wealth. Forces came, right? This when they were supposed to come and help, they didn't. We'll come back to that in just a moment. While foreigners entered his gates and cast lots for Jerusalem, you were just like one of them. Do not gloat over your brother, or you should not have gloated over your brother. There's another way that could be read. You should not have gloated over your brother in the day of his calamity. You should not have rejoiced over the people of Judah. Okay, do not rejoice over the people of Judah in the day of their destruction. Do not boastfully mock in the day of distress. Do not enter the gate of my people in the day of their disaster. Yes, you do not gloat over their misery. You shouldn't have. In the day of their disaster, and do not appropriate their possessions in the day of their disaster. Do not stand in the obscure places. This says at the crossroads to cut off their fugitives. Okay, basically, do not stand back. Do not stand at obscure places to cut off their fugitives. And do not hand over their survivors in the day of distress. We have another heading before verse 15. It says, judgment of the nations. Judgment of the nations. For the day of the Lord is near against all the nations. As you have done, so it will be done to you. It's something for us to wake up about here in the United States. As you have done, so it will be done to you. What you deserve will return on your head. For as you have drunk on my holy mountain, so all the nations will drink continually. Verse 16, drink a cup of judgment over you. They will drink and gulp down and be as though they had never have been. But there will be a deliverance on Mount Zion, and it will be holy. The house of Jacob will dispossess those who dispossess them. Okay, what? It's going to flip-flop. Jacob will possess its inheritance. He's going to get it back. Then the house of Jacob will be a blazing fire, and the house of Joseph a burning flame, but the house of Esau will be stubble. They, the house of Jacob, will set them on fire and consume them. Therefore no survivor will remain in the house of Esau, for the Lord has spoken. I love how when you read verse 17 again, if you'll look back, but there will be a deliverance on Mount Zion, and it will be holy. The house of Jacob will dispossess those who dispossess them, or literally the LXX manuscript reads, Jacob will possess its inheritance. We know that they have come back into the land, but there's still that struggle there with that Gaza Strip and other things that really belongs to them. It's going to be theirs. That's what this is telling us. It will be theirs one day. So some of this has come to fruition. Some of this is complete in the prophecy, but it will all be theirs. Jacob will dispossess those who dispossess him. They will possess their inheritance. Therefore, no survivor will be in the house of Esau, for the Lord has spoken, there at the end of verse 18. And then finally, the last heading reads, future blessing for Israel. People from the Negev will possess the hill country of Esau. Those from the Judean foothills will possess the land of the Philistines. Okay, he's talking about Israel will get those places back. They will take back what is theirs. They will possess the territories of Ephraim and Samaria, while Benjamin will possess Gilead. the exiles of the Israelites who are in Halal, okay, Halal, sorry, the host of the Israelites here, the house of Jacob, there, who are among the Canaanites as far as Zarephath, and the exiles of Jerusalem who are in Sepharad will possess the cities of the Negev. Verse 21 is interesting here in the Holman Standard. It says, Saviors will ascend to Mount Zion to rule over the hill country of Esau, but the kingdom will be the Lord's. Literally, verse 21 is, those who have been delivered will ascend Mount Zion. That includes you and me, those who have been delivered to rule over the hill country, to rule over the king. The kingdom will be the Lord's, and we will be those who help rule over that. It's a very interesting book, very prophetic book. As I said, some of this has happened. There are a few things left that will happen at the end, okay, in the end times. But a lot of these have happened. So you see why we want to stand with Israel, because judgment will come against all the nations, as it says over there, what was that, in verse 15 and following. For as you have done to Israel, so will be done to you. As you have done to them, so will be done to you. But let's move back real quickly in closing, a little bit of history to help us out here. Back in verses 10 through 14, it says God used pagan nations. They used Assyria and Babylon to discipline his people, Israel, in 722 BC. We know that's when the first wave came in and took Israel, the northern tribe, and then Judah, the southern tribe, in 586 BC. They were warned, both groups were warned time and time again by the prophets, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. And you think especially the southern kingdom, Judah, and when in 722 BC, when they were hauled off, that the southern kingdom would have been woke, right? They would have woke up and said, hey, this really is happening. They were prophesying about this, and they missed it. We don't want to miss it, but they did the same thing. But as Babylon made its third and most devastating invasion of Judah, their neighbors, the Edomites, helped the Babylonians capture the king of Judah. See, they helped them. The Babylonians rewarded Edom by inviting them to join in the plunder of Jerusalem. This was especially painful to the residents of Judah, since the Edomites were heirs of Abraham and Isaac through Esau. The Lord was not pleased with the Edomites. What do you think? Their attitudes, their actions, anything. And he raises up Obadiah to prophesy against them. Obadiah charges Edom with one of the oldest crimes, fratricide, or brother turning against brother. You can look in Genesis chapter 4, verses 1 through 15. Genesis 4, 1 through 15. Both human decency and the Mosaic law called for the Edomites to help their kinsmen instead of gloating over them and adding to their pain. So instead of helping them, instead of fighting Babylon and the Babylonians, they help them, and so that they can go in and plunder Jerusalem themselves. So we wonder where all the stuff went from the temple and other things. Who knows? But maybe some of the Edomites took some of that. But their day is coming. Our day is coming as well. Will we be part of, as it said in verse 21, part of those who have been delivered that will ascend the hill of Mount Zion? Or will we be some of those, as you have done, it will be done to you? What you deserve will return on your own head. Once again, we need to stand up for Israel. We need to stand up for Jesus Christ and tell others all about him and his love for us. Thank you. You have a blessed week.